Yeah, so let's just kind of start with, who are you? What do you do? What have you written? Um, you know, how'd you get into writing? All that kind of stuff.
That's a great question. Writing's kind of always been, we talked about this a little bit in the queue up here before the show. Writing's always been in my blood. I started off at the tender age of, I don't know, maybe about 25 or 26, starting a full service advertising and marketing agency, which I was probably too young to realize what I was getting into. I was foolishly brave, jumped into it with both feet. And for about 17 years, I did ad copy marketing down in the Tampa Bay area of Florida. I ended up tripping across this company that was just starting out at the time with an idea, and I helped them with their marketing. They had a horrible name called Portables that sounded like toilets, and the person could not sell their product. They had 70 boxes, and they said, "Please help me. I can't see. My goal is to get to 100 of these boxes. Can you help me, Mr. Advertising Guy?" So I thought about it and I said, with a name like Portables, it sounds like toilets. You're not going to go anywhere. So maybe you should rebrand it. And he said, "What should we call it?" And I said, "What if you call it Pods, Portable On Demand Storage?" And at the time he was like, just not so sure I want to do that. I've got 70 of these boxes and I just painted them. But he bit the bullet. He named them Pods. And then that started my second career, which was I got a reputation for just naming things. So I've
Yeah,
named about 500 companies, products, and services globally. And in all of that creation mode of creating brand identities, I had inside me this idea that maybe I could take some of that energy and apply it someday to a book.
yeah, that's super cool. So the pods containers, is that what you're talking about?
That's
Those
the Pods containers.
that's
Yes, I have one in my driveway. We're moving the next couple of weeks, so
yeah,
it's come full circle. So I think there's hundreds of thousands of them now.
yeah, yeah, that's super cool. Yeah, it's I love how you said you're young and foolish enough to jump into something. I feel like that's we all have that moment in our life where like, yeah, I can do this, and then
What
you
was I thinking?
yeah, you get into it and you're like, uh-oh, you know.
Uh-oh, I guess I got to make the best of it.
Yeah. So how did
Yeah.
you then kind of transition into writing your book and getting into that, like when did the idea come to you where you're like, "Hey, I should write this," and
Yeah.
then actually doing it?
That's a funny question. I would say I had this writing thing. I always was as a college student. I had this fanciful idea that I'd be a writer someday. I was kind of into Hemingway, and I just love that short, concise, emotive kind of writing style that he had. And I thought maybe I'd write a novel, kind of a classic one. And I had spent some time doing youth service work with the YMCA down in Peru and had a lot of experiences young doing some crazy stuff. And I thought maybe that would be a novel I would write, some young man traveling abroad kind of novel. But as I got older, I thought my real roots were I'm always a kid at heart. My wife always says I've never grown up. And I
We
have
never
this
grow
massive.
up, we just get older.
Don't you love how they say that men don't mature mentally until they're like, it keeps going up from 25, I think it's to 35 now, and I
Yeah,
question whether that ever happens.
right.
So I was just always this imaginative sprout, and I had this idea, and I wanted to go back and kind of reawaken that gene in young, especially young boys. And I don't think they get enough attention these days. They're a little overlooked. They're lost. And I thought I want to reawaken that desire to read and to imagine and to invention and to wonder. And I thought, what if you just created a fantastical novel in the spirit of Roald Dahl, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, James and the Giant Peach, just a fantastical world that would really kind of stir kids and kind of reinvigorate them to have that desire to read. So as I began to play with this idea, about the time I started this second um, career in brand development, probably about 15 years ago, I had this wild idea hit me of this story, and it kind of sat for the last 10 or 15 years in the background.